Breaking news! Washington floated a bill to put more U.S. agents on Canadian soil. Is this cooperation or the first cut in a slow bleed of our sovereignty?
We'll show you what the bill actually does, what it can't do without Ottawa's signature, and the guardrails that Canada must demand.
Then, how Trump's economic war, tariffs, trade blackmail, and a failed auto deal is designed to make Canada bend.
We're going to show you how Canada's actually fighting back with booming manufacturing jobs, the boycott crushing U.S. whiskey exports, and new global allies from China to the EU.
And finally, our sovereignty checklist. What Canadians can do to help protect our sovereignty. Because this isn't paranoia, it's preparation.
This is the fight for Canada's sovereignty, and it starts right now. Hit like so other Canadians see this, and let's get into it.
The story starts with House Resolution 5518. On the surface, it asks Homeland Security to negotiate integrated cross-border aerial, maritime, and land operations. Sounds bureaucratic, but it's a door cracked open.
Right now, U.S. officers already work in Canada in pre-clearance at 8 airports and at Joint Marine Patrol under Shiprider, where RCMP and the U.S. Coast Guard share a boat. But those programs only exist because Canada consented and our laws take priority. Canada still calls the shots inside its borders.
The bill hints at expanding that model, and the language is really vague. So vague that it could mean U.S. agents patrolling Canada more freely, maybe even armed, maybe not, depending on whatever new agreements get signed.
They say it's about securing the northern border, but it's also about optics. Republicans want to look tough while quietly eroding the idea that Canada's border is ours to manage. This is dangerous because the minute American officers can act here without Canadian oversight, the question isn't border security, it's border ownership. Sovereignty rarely disappears with a bang, it fades by negotiation.
And history shows how this can slip. Mexico once let U.S. law enforcement agencies expand joint operations in the name of fighting cartels. Over the years, those partnerships grew so deep that American agents were effectively running parts of Mexico's security strategy. When Mexico finally pushed back after the DEA arrested a former Mexican defense minister without warning, well, it triggered a diplomatic crisis and a scramble to regain control. That's what happens when cooperation quietly turns into dependency.
But the good news is this bill can't make that happen on its own. Canada has to agree. Nothing changes unless Ottawa signs a new deal, and our laws would still apply. Still, it's a warning, because every integration step moves the lines just a little closer to the edge.
Our public safety minister's office said that they'll wait and see. That's polite Ottawa speak for we haven't decided whether to blink or not. And if the bill ever passes in Washington, Canadians will need to demand one answer. Who's in charge under whose law?
So while Washington's flirting with border integration, Trump's hitting us with the economic version of pressure from every direction.
First came the tariffs. Steel, aluminum, autos, lumber, you name it.
Then came Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick telling business leaders flat out there will be no auto deal with Canada. He said, quote, "We'll keep buying your parts, but that's about it."
This is about pressure, not negotiation. After posing for a photo op with Carney, Trump then brushed aside the trade deal, saying he's willing to tear up or remake Kuzma if it suits him.
Carney's response was classic Canadian calm. He said, "We'll handle tariffs sector by sector, steel, aluminum, autos, because the U.S. will keep targeting industries even after the trade deal review."
It's smart. Diversify, deal directly, and don't expect fairness from a man who's turned conning people into an art form. He's bankrupted casinos, phony charities, all those unpaid bills. You can't reason with someone who spent decades cheating workers, stiffing contractors, and runs government like one of his bankrupt casinos.
Meanwhile, Trump plans to slap 100% tariffs on China beginning November 1st, a decision that would ripple across global markets and drive up prices everywhere. When the world's two biggest economies go to war, supply chains seize up, and Canada's caught in the crossfire.
While Trump swings a wrecking ball, Carney's building bridges, a signed trade deal with Indonesia that cuts or wipes tariffs off almost all Canadian exports, opening the door to Asia's fastest growing market. In Europe, the CETA agreement still gives us tariff-free access to nearly every EU country, and now there's a new security pact that cements that relationship even further. And in the Gulf, Canada's deepening ties with the UAE, drawing investment for clean energy and tech while opening new lanes for Canadian exports. It's a quiet but deliberate pivot away from dependence on the US.
Because you can't rely on a neighbor who keeps threatening to evict you from your own house. Trump's tariffs on steel, autos, and lumber aren't just bad economics, they're leverage plays. So Carney's building lifelines elsewhere, deals that keep Canadians working even when Washington throws another tariff tantrum. That's what leadership looks like. Less noise and more results.
But here's the twist. While Trump keeps swinging those tariffs all over the place, Canada's economy is quietly holding the line. In September alone, we added 60,000 jobs, most of them in manufacturing, the very sector those US tariffs were supposed to crush. Ontario and Alberta led the rebound, and wages climbed more than 3% year over year. It's not spectacular, but solid proof that the Canadian economy can take a hit and still keep its footing.
And it's not just the job numbers, it's the shells. Walk into your liquor store and you'll see the new trade war is real. American whiskey sales have collapsed by 85% since Canada pulled the US brands from stores in retaliation for Trump's tariffs. Jack Daniels, Woodruff Reserves, they're gone. In their place, Buy Canadian Instead signs and local distilleries are getting their spotlight. Nova Scotia's spirit sales are up 24% and Canadian wine and whiskey nearly 9%. That's what consumer sovereignty looks like when patriotism meets purchasing power.
And then there's the diplomatic counterpunch. China's ambassador just offered to drop 100% tariffs on Canadian canola if Ottawa lifts its levies on Chinese electric vehicles. Now, it's a controversial bargain, but it does show that Canada has leverage. Beijing wants our energy and agriculture, and we want access for our farmers. That's how real negotiation works, Trump. No photo ops, no threats, just deals grounded in mutual interest.
Saskatchewan farmers are already pressing Premier Moe to take that offer seriously. Meanwhile, PP's conservatives are shouting, "Don't trust China," but can't explain how they get canola flowing again. It's almost like they'd rather let the crops rot than admit that Carney's diplomacy is paying off.
So, while Trump picks trade fights and our opposition heckles from the sidelines, Canada's proving something simple. Resilience isn't loud, but it's powerful.
So how does Canada protect its sovereignty when Washington keeps testing the line? It starts with boundaries, the kind written in ink, not orange spray tan.
That means rules, real enforceable ones. Here's what Canada must demand, no matter who's in power in Ottawa or Washington.
Number 1, no unaccompanied foreign agents. Any U.S. officer operating on Canadian soil does so under Canadian command and supervision.
Number 2, Canadian law applies, always. No legal loopholes, no jurisdictional gray zones.
And number 3, full accountability. If a U.S. officer crosses a line, Washington pays for the damages, the misconduct, and the lawsuits.
And number 4, data stays Canadian. No joint databases or surveillance programs without parliamentary oversight and a privacy commissioner watching the gate.
And number 5, built-in sunset clauses. Every cross-border program expires automatically unless Parliament renews it in daylight with a public review.
Because cooperation should strengthen sovereignty, not surrender it. Partnership isn't about trust. It's about terms.
Exactly. Integration only works when both sides know who's in charge, and on this side of the line, it has to be Canada every time.
So how do we protect sovereignty when Washington keeps testing the line? It doesn't start in Parliament, it actually starts with us.
Canadians have more power than we think. Every time you choose where to spend your money, what to buy, or who to vote for, you're shaping the line between cooperation and control.
Start local. Support Canadian industries hit by tariffs, whether it's whiskey, steel, or auto parts. When we buy our own, we send a message that economic intimidation does not work.
Stay alert. Read the fine print on every so-called border security partnership and ask your MP what safeguards exist for Canadian data, Canadian law, and Canadian jobs. Silence is the crack where sovereignty leaks out.
And demand accountability, not from Washington, but from Ottawa. We elect governments to defend the national interest, not to manage our decline. So keep writing, showing up, and asking those uncomfortable questions.
Because sovereignty doesn't protect itself, it survives through awareness, civic pressure, and a little healthy defiance.
So true. It's not about isolation, it's about independence. We work with allies, but we don't answer to them.
Hey, Canada's been tested before by wars, depressions, and neighbors who mistake friendship for ownership. Every time, we've held the line. What's happening now is just another version of that same test.
A bordered bill in Washington, terror threats from the White House, pressure from foreign powers. It's all designated to see how much we will bend. And so far, we haven't. Canada's economy is adapting, our industries are standing tall, and Canadians, we're paying attention.
And while the US cuts food programs and social support, Canada's doing the opposite. Carney just made the National School Food Program permanent. No child left hungry in class, and it rolled out automatic tax filing so millions of low-income Canadians can finally get the benefits they deserve. That's what real sovereignty looks like, a country that takes care of its own.
Let's think about it. Leadership isn't about threatening your neighbors, it's about protecting your citizens. That's the Canada we're defending.
And that's the America I don't want any part of. So if you want to dig deeper into what that fight looks like inside our own borders, watch our latest breakdown on Danielle Smith's plan that's potentially tearing Canada apart. It's the same story, different battlefield.
Like, subscribe, and click that bell so you don't miss the next video. And share this video with someone who needs to know what's really going on. And if you want to support us, join the A-Team because it helps keep this channel independent and keeps these Canadian voices alive.
You can also find more stories and bonus analysis on Substack. The links are all in the description.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.